Captain Jessica Carter had promised to be at her sister's wedding. "If you miss this wedding, Jessica, I'm done with you forever," Emma had said. On the morning of the wedding, when the phone rang, Jessica had to choose between the life of a family with 2 children and the promise she had made. Welcome to Hidden Story, where we uncover the extraordinary lives hiding in plain sight. Before we dive into this powerful story of impossible choices and unbreakable bonds, tell us in the comments, have you ever had to choose between duty and family? And if you believe stories like these deserve to be remembered, hit that subscribe button and help us ensure they're never forgotten. The words hung in the air between the 2 sisters like a loaded weapon. "If you miss my wedding, Jessica, I'm done with you forever." Captain Jessica Phoenix Carter, the woman who had led Special Forces teams through the deadliest missions in 3 different war zones, felt her chest tighten at her younger sister's ultimatum. Emma Carter stood in her wedding dress fitting room, tears streaming down her face as she stared at her reflection. At 28, Emma was tired of being second place to her sister's military career, tired of watching Jessica choose strangers over family, tired of understanding. That's not fair," Jessica said quietly. 14 years, Jessica," Emma spun around, her voice breaking. 14 years of, "Sorry, there's an emergency." 14 years of empty chairs at Christmas dinner, missed birthdays, and FaceTime calls from God knows where instead of hugs. Jessica stood frozen as her sister continued, each word hitting like shrapnel. "Dad's funeral. You missed it for a training exercise. My college graduation, deployment, my engagement party, some classified mission you couldn't even tell me about." Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm getting married once, Jessica. Once. And if you can't choose me this one time?" The bridal shop fell silent except for Emma's quiet sobbing. Jessica looked at her sister, beautiful, heartbroken Emma, who had spent her whole life loving someone who was never there. "I promise," Jessica said, her voice carrying the same steel she used when commanding troops. "I swear on Dad's grave that nothing will keep me from being your maid of honor. Nothing." Emma met her sister's eyes in the mirror. "You've made promises before. This one's different." "Why?" Jessica stepped forward, placing her hands on Emma's shoulders. "Because if I break this one, I lose you forever, and I'd rather die than let that happen." 6 months later, at 0500 hours on Emma's wedding day, Jessica's secure phone shattered the pre-dawn silence of Fort Campbell. She knew before answering what this call would mean. Emergency calls at dawn only brought one thing: impossible choices. "Captain Carter," she answered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Jessica, we have a situation." General Morrison's voice was grim. "American hostages in Colombia. The Rodriguez family, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, her husband Miguel, and their twin daughters, ages 6 and 8. Jessica's blood turned to ice. She knew Dr. Rodriguez. She'd served as a battlefield medic during Jessica's deployment in Afghanistan 3 years ago. Her children, Isabella and Sophia, she had seen their pictures on Elena's desk in the field hospital. "Timeline?" she asked, though she already knew her world was about to implode. "Rebels plan to execute them in 16 hours unless their demands are met. We don't negotiate with terrorists, Jessica." "You know that." Jessica looked at her dress blues hanging in the closet, the uniform she had planned to wear to Emma's ceremony. Next to it hung the coral-colored bridesmaid dress Emma had chosen specifically because it'll look perfect with your complexion, Jess. "Wheels up in 90 minutes, the general continued. "You're the only one qualified to lead this extraction. Those children are counting on you." Jessica closed her eyes, seeing Emma's tear-streaked face from 6 months ago. "If you miss my wedding, Jessica, I'm done with you forever." But she also saw Dr. Rodriguez's family photo from her desk in Kandahar. Little Isabella with her gap-toothed smile, Sophia with her stuffed elephant, their parents beaming with pride at some family celebration. "I'll be ready, sir," Jessica said quietly, hating herself with every word. At that exact moment, 150 miles away in Nashville, Emma Carter was having her hair styled for the biggest day of her life. "Your sister's going to cry when she sees you," Rachel, her best friend and temporary maid of honor, said as the stylist pinned delicate pearls into Emma's dark hair. "Jessica's never seen you this beautiful." Emma smiled, her heart full of excitement. She promised she'd be here early. Knowing Jessica, she's probably already at the venue checking security and making sure everything's perfect. She laughed. "She's been planning my wedding like it's a military operation." The other bridesmaids giggled, but Emma's joy was pure. For the first time in 14 years, Jessica had kept her word. No last-minute calls, no emergency deployments, no broken promises. This morning, Emma had woken up to a text from Jessica. "Getting dressed now. Can't wait to stand beside my baby sister today. Love you, Em." What Emma didn't know was that Jessica had sent that text before the phone call that destroyed everything. Jessica's hands shook as she scrolled to Emma's contact. Her sister's engagement photo smiled back at her, Emma wrapped in her fiancé David's arms, both of them laughing at something their photographer had said. Pure joy captured in pixels. The call went straight to voicemail. Of course, Emma was probably getting her nails done, her phone buried somewhere while she enjoyed her last morning as a single woman. "Em, it's me," Jessica began, her voice catching. "I need you to know that what I'm about to tell you is breaking my heart. There's a mission. American children are going to die if someone doesn't." She stopped, unable to find words that would make this betrayal hurt any less. "I'm so sorry. I love you more than my own life, and I'll spend the rest of my days making this up to you." 90 minutes later, Jessica was airborne in a C-130, surrounded by America's most elite operators. But instead of reviewing tactical briefings, she found herself staring at photos from Emma's bridal shower on her phone, her sister glowing with happiness, surrounded by friends who kept asking, "Where's Jessica?" "We can't wait to meet the famous soldier sister." Master Sergeant Carlos Rivera, her closest friend and second in command, dropped into the seat beside her. "You look like someone just told you Christmas was canceled, Captain." "My sister's getting married today," Jessica said quietly. Rivera whistled low. "Jesus, ma'am, that's brutal, but those kids in Colombia." "Need me more than Emma needs me in a bridesmaid dress?" Jessica finished. "I know. Doesn't make me feel less like the worst sister in history." 600 miles away in Nashville, Emma Carter was discovering that her maid of honor had vanished. "Has anyone seen Jessica?" Emma asked for the 6th time in 2 hours, trying to keep the panic out of her voice. She stood in the bridal suite at Belle Meade Plantation, surrounded by her bridesmaids, college friends Rachel and Sarah, and David's sister Michelle. "She's probably just stuck in traffic," Rachel offered weakly. "You know how I-24 can be." But Emma knew her sister. Jessica was never late for anything important. If she was going to be late, she would have called. Unless... The voicemail notification chimed. Emma's heart leapt, then immediately shattered as she listened to Jessica's message. "She's not coming," Emma said quietly, staring at her phone. "There's a mission. Children are involved." She looked up at her concerned friends. "My sister isn't coming to my wedding." The room fell silent except for the distant sound of wedding guests arriving in the parking lot below. "Emma, I'm so sorry," Michelle said gently, "but maybe she'll finish early." "Military stuff can be fast, right?" Emma shook her head, tears streaming down her freshly applied makeup. When Jessica gets that voice, that mission voice, it means she's going somewhere dangerous for God knows how long. She's chosen strangers over me again. 2,000 miles away in the Colombian mountains, Jessica was learning that some promises are impossible to keep. The intelligence had been wrong, dead wrong. The compound where the Rodriguez family was supposedly being held was empty. except for 2 guards who surrendered without firing a shot. But hidden surveillance revealed the truth. The real hostages were being held in a fortified position 20 miles deeper into hostile territory. "It's a shell game," Lieutenant Sarah Kim, her intelligence officer, reported grimly. "They've been moving the hostages every 4 hours. We're chasing shadows." Jessica checked her watch. 1400 hours local time. Emma's ceremony would begin in 5 hours. If they could locate the real hostage site quickly, if the extraction went perfectly, if everything that could go right did go right. "Ma'am," Rivera interrupted her thoughts. "Drone surveillance found them. Abandoned mining facility 30 miles northeast. But here's the problem. It's a 4-hour approach through hostile terrain. The entrance is heavily fortified." Jessica felt her heart sink. A 4-hour approach, unknown time to safely extract 4 hostages from a fortified position, plus extraction time. She was looking at a minimum 10-hour operation. Emma's wedding would be over before Jessica could even reach the hostages. At exactly 7 p.m. Eastern Time, as Jessica rappelled down a cliff face in Colombia, Emma Carter walked down the aisle at Belle Meade Plantation. She looked breathtaking in her flowing ivory gown, her dark hair swept into an elegant chignon with pearls woven throughout. Her father walked beside her with tears streaming down his face, proud and heartbroken in equal measure. Proud of his daughter's beauty and grace, heartbroken that his eldest daughter wasn't there to share this moment. David stood at the altar in his navy dress blues, his eyes widening as he saw his bride. But as Emma approached, she felt Jessica's absence like a gaping wound. The empty space where her sister should have been standing seemed to echo with 14 years of missed moments and broken promises. When she reached the altar and handed her bouquet to Rachel, sweet Rachel, who was trying her best but wasn't family, wasn't the person Emma had dreamed of having by her side since they were little girls, all she could think about was Jessica's voice 6 months ago. "I promise, Em. Nothing will keep me from standing beside you." As the officiant began the ceremony, Emma found herself scanning the crowd, hoping against hope that she'd see Jessica slip through the back doors. Still in uniform, but there. Finally there when it mattered most. But the doors remained closed. Deep in the Colombian mining facility, Jessica faced the most challenging extraction of her career. The Rodriguez family was alive, but barely. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had a severe arm injury from a beating. Her husband Miguel was in shock, and their children, 6-year-old Isabella and 8-year-old Sofia, were dehydrated and terrified. Worse, the rebels had wired the facility with motion-activated charges. One wrong step, one triggered sensor, and the entire family would be buried alive. "How long do you need?" Jessica asked Sergeant Mike Torres, her demolitions expert, as he studied the sophisticated trigger system. "To disarm this without killing anyone? 6 hours minimum, maybe 8 if they've got backup triggers." Jessica felt her world collapse. 8 hours would put them well past midnight. Even if everything went perfectly from that point forward, Emma's wedding would be nothing but a memory. She pulled out her satellite phone, staring at Emma's contact for a long moment. What could she say? That she was choosing strangers over family again? That duty trumped love one more time? Instead, she put the phone away and got back to work. 4 lives hung in the balance, including 2 children who just wanted to go home. But as she worked to save the Rodriguez family, Jessica made a decision that would change everything. "Rivera," Jessica called her second-in-command over, "I need you to take command of the extraction." Carlos's eyes widened. "Ma'am, you're not abandoning the mission, are you?" "I'm delegating it to the most competent operator I know," Jessica said firmly. "You've run extractions like this before. The Rodriguez family needs to get home, but they don't specifically need me to make that happen." "Captain, with all due respect, this is career suicide. You can't just leave a hostage rescue for a wedding." Jessica looked at her watch. 2030 hours local time. Emma's reception would be starting now. First dance, cake cutting, all the moments Jessica had promised to share with her sister. Carlos, do you have siblings? Yes, ma'am. 2 brothers. Have you ever broken a promise to them? Really broken it in a way that cut them to the bone? Carlos was quiet for a moment. Yes, ma'am. Did you ever get the chance to make it right? No, ma'am. My older brother died in Iraq before I could. Jessica met his eyes. Then you understand why I have to go. What happened next defied every military protocol Jessica had ever learned. While Rivera and the team continued the delicate work of disarming the facility, Jessica coordinated the most audacious extraction of her career, not of hostages, but of herself. Using her command authority, she arranged for an emergency helicopter to extract her to the Ecuadorian border. From there, a military transport would fly her to Atlanta, where a convoy of vehicles would race her to Nashville. Ma'am, the Joint Chiefs are going to have your head for this, Lieutenant Kim warned as Jessica prepared to leave. Let them, Jessica replied, checking her gear one final time. Some things are more important than rank. The helicopter ride to Ecuador was a blur of jungle canopy and radio chatter about the ongoing hostage situation. Jessica monitored every detail, staying connected to her team while also coordinating her own impossible timeline. Land in Ecuador, 2,200 hours. Takeoff for Atlanta, 2230 hours. Arrival in Atlanta, 0200 hours. Drive time to Nashville, 4 hours. Arrival at reception venue, 0600 hours. If Emma's reception followed the typical Southern wedding timeline, the party would still be going strong. At 6 a.m., Jessica might actually make it. At 0545 hours, as the sun began to rise over the Tennessee hills, 3 black military SUVs raced down Highway 40 toward Nashville. In the lead vehicle, Jessica sat still wearing her combat fatigues, her hair pulled back in a tactical bun, her face streaked with camouflage paint she hadn't had time to wash off. Her phone buzzed with updates from Colombia. Hostages secured. Rodriguez family safe. All targets neutralized. Mission successful. Jessica closed her eyes in relief. Rivera had done it. The family was safe, and her career wouldn't be completely destroyed by her decision to leave. But more importantly, she might actually keep her promise to Emma. Ma'am, her driver announced, Bell Mead Plantation coming up on the right. Jessica's heart pounded as she saw the elegant venue ahead. Cars still filled the parking lot, a good sign that the reception was ongoing. String lights twinkled in the ancient oak trees, and she could hear the distant sound of music and laughter. Pull up to the main entrance, Jessica ordered. Inside the reception hall, Emma swayed slowly in David's arms as the band played their 3rd slow song of the set. The reception had been beautiful, better than she'd ever imagined, but Jessica's absence cast a shadow over everything. You okay, babe? David murmured in her ear. You've been quiet since the ceremony. I just keep thinking she'll walk through those doors, Emma admitted. I know it's stupid, but part of me is still waiting for her. It's not stupid, David said gently. She's your sister. Of course you want her here. She promised, David. She looked me in the eye and promised nothing would keep her away. Maybe something did come up that was more important then. David stopped himself, realizing how that sounded. Emma pulled back to look at her new husband. What could possibly be more important than me on my wedding day? Before David could answer, the reception hall doors burst open. Every head in the room turned as Jessica Carter strode through the entrance, still wearing her combat fatigues, her boots clicking against the hardwood floor with military precision. She was dusty, exhausted, and clearly hadn't slept in 36 hours. But she was there. The band stopped playing. Conversations died mid-sentence. 200 wedding guests stared in shocked silence as the soldier sister walked across the dance floor toward the newlyweds. Emma, Jessica said quietly, her voice carrying across the silent room. Emma stared at her sister in disbelief. Jessica looked like she had just stepped off a battlefield, which Emma realized she probably had. You came, Emma whispered. I promised you I would. No. Emma's voice hardened, the hurt and anger of the entire day finally breaking free. You promised you'd be my maid of honor. You promised you'd be here for my wedding. You missed everything, Jessica. The ceremony, the first dance, the cake cutting, everything that mattered. Jessica's face crumpled. I know. I'm so sorry, Em. There were children. There are always children. Emma's voice cracked, tears streaming down her face. There's always someone who needs saving. Always a mission more important than your family. Do you know what it felt like to walk down that aisle without you? Do you know how it felt to cut my wedding cake while wondering if my sister was dead in some jungle somewhere? The reception hall remained dead silent, 200 people witnessing the most private moment of the Carter sisters' lives. I left the mission, Jessica said quietly. I left American hostages in a facility in Colombia and flew here because I couldn't break my promise to you again. Emma's anger faltered. You what? I delegated command to my second and extracted myself from an active hostage rescue because my sister needed me more than my country did, at least for today. Jessica took a step closer, her voice breaking as she continued. Emma, I've spent 14 years choosing everyone else over you. I missed Dad's funeral for a training exercise. I missed your college graduation for a deployment I could have delayed. I missed Christmas after Christmas because I thought my duty was more important than my family. She pulled out her phone, showing Emma a photo of two small girls. These are Dr. Rodriguez's daughters, Isabella and Sophia, 6 and 8 years old. They were taken by rebels who planned to execute them tonight. And yes, I saved them. My team got them out alive. Emma stared at the photo. Two little girls with dark pigtails and bright smiles, clearly taken at some family celebration. But I also realized something in that facility, Jessica continued. I realized that I could save every child in the world, but if I kept breaking promises to you, I'd lose the most important person in my life. So I made a choice. I chose you. The silence in the room was deafening. Even the wedding photographer had stopped taking pictures, caught up in the raw emotion of the moment. Emma looked at her sister, really looked at her. Jessica's face was streaked with camouflage paint and exhaustion. Her uniform was wrinkled and dusty, but her eyes held a vulnerability Emma had never seen before. You really left a mission for me. I left a mission for us, Jessica corrected, because you were right. I have spent our entire lives putting everyone else first, and I was about to lose the best person I know because I couldn't figure out that saving my sister's heart was just as important as saving strangers' lives. Emma wiped her eyes, smearing her carefully applied makeup. Jessica, you could get court-martialed for leaving a mission. Probably, Jessica agreed, but I couldn't live with breaking another promise to you. I've missed enough of your life. The bride and her soldier sister stood facing each other in the middle of the dance floor, surrounded by wedding guests who felt like they were witnessing something sacred. You're an idiot, Emma said finally. Jessica's face fell. Em, you're an idiot for thinking you had to choose between saving children and being my sister. Emma stepped forward and threw her arms around Jessica's neck. You're both, Jessica. You're a hero and you're my sister, and I'm proud of you for both. The reception hall erupted in applause as the sisters embraced, both of them crying now, Jessica from relief, Emma from joy. I missed your wedding, Jessica whispered in her sister's ear. But you didn't miss my marriage, Emma replied, and that's what matters. What happened next would become family legend for generations. Still wearing her combat fatigues, Jessica joined the reception as if she had been there all along. She gave an impromptu maid of honor speech that had the entire room in tears, talking about Emma's strength, kindness, and ability to love unconditionally, even when her sister didn't deserve it. She danced with Emma to their father's favorite song, both sisters ignoring the camouflage paint that transferred from Jessica's face to Emma's white dress. And when Emma asked what would happen to Jessica's career, Jessica just smiled. The Joint Chiefs will probably have some words for me, she admitted, but my commanding officer is a father of 3 daughters. I think he'll understand that some promises are worth keeping, even if it means bending a few rules." 6 months later, Captain Jessica Carter received the Bronze Star for her role in the successful rescue of the Rodriguez family. The citation made no mention of her early departure from the mission. Officially, she had remained until the hostages were secure. At the ceremony, she wore her dress blues with pride, but what made her happiest wasn't the medal or the recognition. It was seeing Emma in the front row, 3 months pregnant and glowing with happiness. After the ceremony, as photographers snapped pictures and officials shook hands, Emma approached her sister with a familiar request. "Jessica, I need you to promise me something." Jessica tensed, memories of broken promises and missed moments flooding back. "When this baby is born," Emma continued, "I need you to promise you'll be there. Not as Captain Carter, not as a hero or soldier, just as Aunt Jessica." Jessica looked at her sister's hopeful face, then down at her medal, then back at the most important person in her world. "I promise, Em. And this time, I'll keep it." Because Jessica had learned that some promises are worth more than medals. Some relationships matter more than rank. And sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is simply show up for the people who love you. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button and share it with others. Help us ensure these tales of quiet courage and hidden heroism reach the people who need to hear them. Thank you for watching Hidden Story. We'll see you in the next story, where another lesson waits to be learned, another truth waits to be revealed, and another reminder awaits that authentic heroism lives quietly among us, waiting for the moment when it must speak up to protect what truly matters.